Hello, everyone. This is Madam DA Sue Opera giving a statement post the conviction of Darrell Brooks. Let's dive in.
First and foremost, you asked for max sentences. You got them on all of them. What sort of conversations did you have with victims? And I'm curious what you heard from them.
Obviously, everyone is very grateful and very appreciative of the time that Judge Darrell took to explain her sentence and explain the reasons why. I thought it was very, very impactful. Absolutely. That she read a sentence for each victim by name. That was really tremendous. The victims are very grateful for that, that she respected and cared about each one of them enough to name them and, basically say to the defendant, you're serving 17 years for this person, you're serving 17 years for that person. So a lot of tears and happiness, of course.
So that's pretty much bittersweet. It's sweet because he's put away, but it's still bitter because the loved ones are gone.
Darrell brought this up, that Brooks spoke for more than 2 hours, and she never heard one sentence. She never heard him say that he was sorry to the victims.
Never did.
What are your thoughts on all of that? On his speech, on him not apologizing?
Yeah, I think we all had that same observation of he was allowed to speak freely for 2 hours, and really much of it was irrelevant information that didn't help. She asked him pointedly several times, what do you think I should do? What type of sentence do you think I should impose? And he never directly answered the question. The lack of remorse, the lack of responsibility are factors she can consider, and she definitely did. And it definitely was something our victims all noticed too, of course.
Well, she's definitely right about that, because when she asked him, what do you think the court should do? And then he went back to that BS talking about, Your Honor, it's hard to answer that because I don't understand the nature and cause of nature. I mean, the man was just, look, you can tell by her face that they were absolutely relieved that this was over and this monster was finally captured. Finally, he was put away.
What were you feeling when everything came to a close today?
I don't think it's really entirely sunk in yet, but a little bit of relief just for our families, that they don't have to keep coming back here. We've been very grateful that we were able to get this wrapped up in a year's time for our families and not drag this out for years, which you see so commonly. It was very fortunate. The investigation was so well done, so thorough, so easy for us to just move quickly on charges and move the case along. So we're very, very glad about that.
Every courtroom's different, but Judge Darrell allowed clapping and applause on those first 6 intentional homicide charges. How did you feel? And were you expecting a reaction like that from the folks in the gallery?
I was not expecting it. And it is very, very unusual. As you said, typically that's not proper courtroom decorum. But I think it was appropriate under this circumstance because of the relief that everybody felt and the magnitude of the events. It just, it felt right to everybody, I think, including Judge Darrell. And I think she was gracious to allow it to go on, for a short period of time, and then said, all right, let's get the work done here.
Well, let me say this. Now, she just said that that's not proper courtroom decorum. Well, put it this way. It was a little bit of retribution, because Darrell didn't act in no civil and acted in the type of courtroom decorum. So that was nothing but retribution. Good. And I'm glad she allowed it, because she let him get away with too much stuff anyway. He was given carte blanche to pretty much say anything he wanted to say for, watch this, 2 hours, and never out of those 2 hours ever gave an apology.
Do you think justice was served today?
Yes, I do. I mean, I'm very grateful that Mr. Brooks will never be a free man. And, it's the best we can do for our victims, unfortunately, is to hold them accountable and have them know that he will never walk free again, and have them know that they have the whole community behind them, not only Waukesha County, the state of Wisconsin, really the whole nation. The responses we've seen have just been incredible. So
let me say this, and then I want to play another clip from Sue Opera They were giving a press conference. But let me say this: she said that she's grateful that he would never walk free again. Well, the last time I seen him, y'all remember seeing him in a wheelchair? I said, "Did somebody get to them legs already?" My. Let's go to this next clip. All right, so this is the press conference, and Madam DA Sue Harper is going to come into the podium and explain exactly the dynamics of the case, what they had to prepare for, even when they had ascertained the fact that he was relieving counsel, and how they had to alter their strategy in terms of going forward. They were basically walking on eggshells. They had to be very meticulous relative to their approach when he decided to be a pro se defendant.
Will be Chief Thompson and District Attorney Sue Hopper. So I'll start right here, TMJ4. Who would you like to direct your question to?
Sue Hopper.
Sue, come on up.
Okay, thank you.
Chief.
We just gotta know, how are you and your team feeling right now about this outcome?
Well, it's obviously quite satisfying that Mr. Brooks has been found guilty and held
Yes.
accountable for his actions. As many of these victims have said, this is a joyous day for that reason. It's also the point where we hope everyone can move on from. The support that we've gotten as this case wore on day after day was tremendous, and we're very relieved. I guess that's the best word, is relief.
Hillary?
I saw you get a tear in your eye when they were talking about Virginia's ashes. You spoke about
Yep.
what this meant to you and the victims. How do you begin to describe what it was like going up against Brooks as defending him, representing himself? Did that change your strategy? How did you get through all that?
Yeah. I mean, legally it changed our strategy, certainly, because if there's an appeal, we have to he can make a mistake in the courtroom and get a new trial, and we have to pay the price for that, we the state and we the victims.
All right, y'all see, did y'all hear what she just said? That is strategically why Judge Darrell was giving Brooks leeway. That's strategically why she was giving him carte blanche. That's why, because she said if there's an appeal, then that would turn this whole thing around, and that could constitute to a new trial and all that. No. The people did not need that. This has been going on for a whole year. Why do you think he kept on wanting to pursue being in contempt? So that way that can further delay. They didn't want that. They wanted to get through this, put this man where he rightfully belongs, in a cage.
So it's changed our strategy in that we had to make sure, and Judge Darrell did as well, the record was very thorough,
That's
very
right.
complete, and we didn't miss anything.
That's right.
But as far as handling the actual court proceedings, we felt very, very offended by his behavior,
Absolutely.
his disrespect of the court, the decorum, the families, his insulting the judge, his challenging
Horrible.
the judge. That's not the way our system is designed. That was intentional on his part. We truly believe that. He did everything he can except claim that the dog ate his homework.
But I think he strategically did that for the purpose of a mistrial. So you had two different forces. You know, he was trying to push the limit, but I got to give it to Judge Darrell. Her endurance. I don't know how I said this one time before. I said, I wonder if she had any type of training as far as dealing, what do they call that when you deal with people? Psychology. If she ever had that kind of training before she was a judge. I do know that she was a formal DA as well as an attorney, but I just have to give it to her because she stood her ground. Just like she would say in court. She said, I'm going to stand my ground on this. And she absolutely stood her ground. Even in the midst of the many disruptions by Mr. Brooks that tried to knock her off her game so that way he could have a mistrial. He knew what she was doing, and the state and the judge came ready for it. All right, come on.
And he tried to turn this into his story.
Right.
Let's talk about Mr. Brooks,
All
his
about him.
family. And we just kept redirecting it back to the real focus here is our families, our victims, our community, and his responsibility for this destruction.
Yes.
58.
What was the most challenging part, and how did you keep your patience through all of it?
That's what I'm wondering.
Again, it wasn't a difficult case factually, and I don't mean to sound,
Confident.
overly confident in that, but this case was unique because the activity was videotaped. Right?
It was easy.
And so, whereas most cases we have to rely on eyewitness accounts or other ways to prove the case, we had videograph evidence of his behavior all up and down that crime scene and throughout the neighborhood. So that way, it wasn't difficult. Again, the difficulty and the challenges we faced was what nonsense was going to come out of his mouth next. And we were anticipating much of what would come next and being ready legally with case law and legal authority to be able to respond to that. So I think that was the hardest thing. The investigation was so thorough, so well done that we knew the facts were solid. It was just making sure the record and the presentation was done legally accurate.
If I can interject. Now, she just stated that everything was pretty much laid out, all right, because it was videotaped. Here's my point. I don't understand why Brooks had altered his appearance after this was done, because he already appeared videotaped. Not only that, the windows were down. So what difference did it make for him to alter his appearance if he was already shown? Now that's what I didn't get. Where was the logic? What was the philosophy behind that? Altering his appearance when he was already shown on video. I didn't get that. And just like Sue Opera said, after those verdicts were read and it was time for they were going to commence with sentencing, she was saying that this was pretty much open and shut. It was an open and shut case because it was videotaped. There was a quote unquote exhibit. Let me hear the rest of this.
We'll do Fox Local.
So what went into your decision to perhaps minimize the number of direct witnesses that went up on that stand? And I wonder, did you expect any of these antics if that went into your decision?
Yes, it did. So obviously we didn't know until very late that he'd be representing himself. But we as a team set out from day one, and this was months and months ago when he still had attorneys, we vowed we would not put children on the stand. Absolutely. It wasn't necessary.
Well, I can understand that.
There were plenty of other ways to tell this story without asking a child to testify in a courtroom. And
guess what? By the way, if they would have had, can you imagine Mr. Brooks cross-examining a child? That would have, oh my God. I was already upset when he had cross-examined one of the dancing grannies. So let alone a child. Can you imagine? If he would have been able, and he would have legally been able to do it, he was representing himself. Pro se defendant. Or in his case, the alleged defendant. Stupid.
Live this very, very extreme, tragic situation. So that was a commitment we made as a team months ago, and we stuck by that. Certainly, as we learned his antics, we reevaluated, and we would discuss it every night as a team. Is who are we going to use tomorrow?
What is he going to do
and
next?
Do we really need this person? Because we were so, again, not personally offended, but professionally offended that he would insult
and
the process and insult the victims, accuse them of financial gain for their testimony, things like that.
Right.
It was just so offensive that we definitely were conscious of that in our decision making and how can we minimize this for the best of everyone, but still provide a compelling story. So yes, it did definitely play a factor.
Y'all remember that? She's right, because when he was questioning even the police officer, are you paid to testify? Remember, he would say, "Did you seek to testify?" How can they seek to testify if they were subpoenaed to testify? That's two different things. If somebody subpoenas you, you got to be there by default of that subpoena, not by from something that you're seeking to do. So clearly right there, he was making this about him being victimized, that somebody was seeking or plotting against him. Never mind what he did. Let's camouflage all that about what I did, and let's make this about me being the victim in this. Come on here.
Thank you so much. Ms. Hopper, there were so many victims' families inside the courtroom every day, sitting behind you. How much did that motivate you and your team, and how you present your evidence and your closing argument? You mentioned them, and have you been able to speak to any of them that aren't here that maybe said something to you afterwards?
Yes. The motivation we received from those families was tremendous. And we knew, again, from the point when Mr. Brooks chose to represent himself,
What a debacle
this
that
was going to be a marathon. We talked about that many times as a team, that,
Say that again.
we just need to keep moving forward every day, whatever that looked like. But what motivated us was these families that are behind me, a lot of them. And we thought of those mothers and fathers sitting in hospital rooms with their children, and the ongoing care that they're still physically healing from, and certainly emotionally healing from. And that motivated us tremendously. But
Yeah.
you couldn't meet a nicer group of people. I mean, that's the thing, is I'm not surprised, having lived in Waukesha for 35 years, that they're good people here. And
You know, let me say this. I know I'm interjecting ad nauseum here, but listen, I'm looking at these family members. Like, I'm surprised that one of them did not jump over that banister and go after him. You know, I can understand the outburst and all that, but I'm just shocked that he didn't get attacked in there, because he clearly disrespected those families in there, man. That is sick. I'm surprised there ain't been no bomb threat on Dawn Woods' house. I'm surprised. Now, I'm not saying for people to go do that, but I'm just shocked that he can take the lives of all these family members, but yet he still has access to his mother. He still has access to his children. And it goes right back to what she was saying. Everything is all about him. All about me. Even in his closings to the jury, about him, about his little daughter, having a conversation with him, because she overheard some people saying that he's a monster and all this stuff about him. And guess what? He absolutely is a monster. Keep this
they
rolling.
would ask us, how are you doing? Do you guys need anything? Which was really phenomenal. They were a tremendous group of people to work for, and it was our honor to represent them and be a voice for them in the court.
Andrew Granicos, Spectrum News. Yesterday it seemed you threw Darrell Brooks a little bit of a lifeline when it came to presenting his closing argument. It seemed that the judge was going to kind of forfeit his right to do that. What made you go that route to allow him and then just object to what he was saying?
That was strategic for the appeal, to be very blunt. I wasn't throwing a lifeline to Mr. Brooks. I really had no interest in hearing what he had to say.
Yeah.
Because I heard all of his lies and stories
All the nonsense
so far. So that was just trying to do what was legally required at the moment.
Absolutely.
And I frankly wasn't sure it was going to work, because he was so difficult with Judge Darrell.
Very.
But in the end, it did work. He
It worked against him.
got to blurt out what he wanted to blurt, and then the judge struck that from the record, and we were able to move on. So I was glad that was the result, but we talked about it at the prosecution table and came up with that idea of, let's offer this, again, just to protect the record for the appeal.
Absolutely.
Knowing what you knew going into this with Brooks representing himself, what caught you by surprise when he presented?
Again, his absolute disrespect and dishonor to the victims, the community, and the court process.
Sick.
I'll do Brian from the Freeman, and then two more we'll do CBS, and then And then, where are you from?
Just a couple more left.
Okay.
Watch this.
Those were the last three. So go, Brian. You got one.
There's been some discussion since the verdict was announced that perhaps the decision to represent himself is grounds for appeal. Are you concerned at all about that?
Well, Mr. Brooks has a right to an appeal. Every defendant does. And I fully expect him to take advantage of his rights as a convicted defendant in this case.
Multi-convicted.
I am very confident in the record that Judge Darrell made and his decision to represent himself. Yes.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Roxanne, CBS News. What do you think about the length of time that the jury took to deliberate? Short, long, were you surprised?
We were not. We talked about it last night, and frankly, I know a lot of you were here too. We were all, by the time we got to that 8 o'clock mark, we were exhausted. And when they said they wanted to go home and rest, we were thankful, quite frankly, because we all felt the same way. It's such an emotionally draining day. And to get through all that and the nonstop banter from Mr. Brooks, it's taxing. You all witnessed it yourself. So we were grateful. We thought they gave it good thought because they went out around 6:30. Their dinner was there immediately, right? So jurors are human beings. They get a nice meal. They got a little time to talk, and then they decided, let's rest. Let's sleep on it.
You know what? If I can interject one more time. Listen, y'all. You know what? A question that I would have asked Madam D.A. Opper. I would have asked her. I said, what do you think about Darrell being disruptive in front of the jury? Did you already knew at that point that it was already over? Because he was performing in front of the jury. And again, those are the people that has your fate, that makes the decision, whether you live or die. And so that would have been a question that I would have personally asked her. Were you happy that he was doing that in front of the jury? Because that's a win-win for y'all.
Always a good option for decision making for anybody, right? Get a good night's sleep on it, and come back the next day. And then, they worked again for about another hour this morning. And with the quality of the investigation in this case, we think the verdict was fair. The timing was spot on.
It was definitely fair. Anytime she let him talk for 2 hours, that's fair. Now, I want y'all to see, this is going to be a little bit of a compilation. I want you to see something else that I thought that was interesting that I wanted to cover. All right, I want you to see this. This is graphic. Most of you've seen it, but I want to do an observation of something because I want you to see something, and I want to see where I'm going to debunk his concern. All right. He runs over these people, and now he's upset being in jail because he feels unsafe. Y'all check this out.
Oh my God!
Look how fast that vehicle is going. Look at this.
Parade turned horrifically tragic.
Oh my.
Prosecutors say Darrell Brooks slammed his SUV into innocent people, killing 6 of them, including an 8-year-old boy. The 40-year-old has been locked up since his arrest in November. Now Brooks says he's not safe in jail.
Oh, please, he's not safe. Was he driving with safety when he ran over those people? Who cares he ain't safe? What the hell?
Brooks's mother told 12 News her son sent her a letter. She would not show it to us or speak to us on camera, but shared details, saying other inmates have threatened her son and his family.
Can you blame them? Can you blame them? What did he do? Why is that a surprise?
Brooks's mother says he wrote about being called, quote, stupid N-word from the guards,
good,
adding, quote, one guard gave him the name Hollywood, always telling him to watch his back. 12 News has confirmed Brooks recently filed a grievance with the Waukesha County Jail regarding his treatment. So we're outside the Waukesha County Jail where Brooks is being held, and in order to obtain that grievance letter he filed, we were told to file an open records request, so that's exactly what we're going to go do inside here. The jail did not fulfill our request Friday. Brooks's mom says her son wrote he heard a guard over the intercom say, quote, he has friends who work in the prison system and he's going to be killed. We asked someone here at the Sheriff's Department to speak on camera about Brooks's allegations and his grievance with the jail. They refused, telling us they did look into the matter and found no mistreatment or wrongdoing
See, he
by
was
staff.
lying.
In Waukesha, Hillary Mintz, WISN 12 News.
Isn't that now? Can I ask y'all something? Isn't that some nerve to suggest that you feel unsafe in jail when you broke the laws of safety and killed 6 people? That is, see there again. That's another trend, y'all. That's him playing victim. I'm being mistreated. I feel unsafe. There was another video where he complained that they were spitting in his food. Listen, I don't condone that, but guess what? Can you blame those people? These people are upset at him. He's upset. Well, the people are upset. That's of no surprise. You endangered the lives of these people with use of a dangerous weapon. And now you feel unsafe in jail. Boy, bye. I'm just so pissed. Let me show y'all another clip, y'all. All right, so this is the quote-unquote letter to his mother. The reason why I say quote-unquote letter, because you know she was the real culprit that sent that letter up there to Erica. But this is a different letter. This is him writing to Dawn Woods over his alleged mistreatment.
10 tonight, the Milwaukee man facing 77 charges for killing 6 people and injuring dozens more during the Waukesha Christmas parade says he is not receiving proper treatment in jail. Darrell Brooks detailed his allegations in a letter to his mother. Our Sam Kramer joins.
First of all, who's supposed to be treated properly when you in jail? When you are in jail, you are the enemy. You ain't supposed to be treated properly. You're supposed to be treated like an animal. Ain't no good treatment in jail. Who the hell does he think he is?
Live in Waukesha with a look with what was inside that letter. What's his beef, Sam?
Yeah, hi there, Ted. Brooks accuses correctional officers, even other inmates, of a lot, calling him racial slurs and hurling other verbal threats, violence, even tainting with his food. Bottom line, Brooks writes he does not feel safe inside the Waukesha County Jail, but after some investigation, the sheriff's office disagrees. From inside the Waukesha County Jail, where he's been held for more than 4 months, Darrell Brooks says he needs to find a way out before something serious happens to him, saying the jail would sweep it under the rug.
Yeah, well, good. He did something serious. This is retribution. I told you all this before. For every action, there's a reaction. He committed an action, and now he has a devastating reaction that became his future.
Detailed abuse allegations and his complaints against jail staff in a letter to his mother, who shared it with Fox 6.
Oh, his
He
mother.
quotes a corrections officer as saying, quote, I hope they give this stupid N-word life in prison.
Me
They're
too.
going to kill him in prison. Brooks also says other inmates told him some officers offered to pay them to expletive him up and to spit in his food.
Yeah, spit in his food. That's
saying
right.
no one should be subject to such treatment, adding, quote, I've been stripped of everything that makes me feel human.
Good.
The 40-year-old Milwaukee.
You're not human. You're an animal. You're not human. Stupid fool. Now you complaining. Because of alleged, since you like to call yourself the alleged defendant, well, I'll say your alleged mistreatment.
Man is awaiting trial, charged in the attack on last year's Christmas parade in Waukesha. Police say Brooks
Look how
drove
fast that
through
car
barricades before barreling through the parade, killing 6 and injuring more than 60. The Waukesha County Sheriff's Office declined an interview Wednesday, but did confirm that Brooks has filed a grievance over these allegations.
It ain't
In a
going nowhere.
statement, the Sheriff's Office says it takes the care and custody of all inmates seriously. After reviewing Brooks' complaints, a spokesman says the office is satisfied that correctional officers are treating him appropriately and that they will continue to monitor his care as long as he's at the jail.
Yeah, they should put him in general population. And let's see how tough he is now. Because there ain't no women in there. Let Bubba get him. All right, y'all leave a comment. Y'all leave a comment. Y'all please like and share and subscribe. Thank you.